Some stories end by circling back to the beginning, where old names, old wounds, and old powers all come rushing back at once. Star Wars Episode 9 The Rise of Skywalker opens with the galaxy shaken by impossible news. Emperor Palpatine, the shadow that once ruled everything, is alive. The First Order is about to become something much worse. And the last hope of the Resistance now rests on Rey, a young woman trying to understand who she is. The movie begins with Kylo Ren hunting through dark space in search of the source of the Emperor return. He is still supreme leader of the First Order, but power has not given him peace. He is furious, restless, and still torn in ways he refuses to admit. His search leads him to Exegol, a hidden Sith world filled with storm, ritual, and decay. There he finds Palpatine broken but alive, sustained by machinery and surrounded by followers who have been building in secret for years. Palpatine reveals a massive hidden fleet, each ship powerful enough to destroy worlds, and offers Kylo a path to ultimate control if he kills Rey. At the same time, Rey is training with Leia Organa while the Resistance struggles to survive. Leia understands that Rey's strength is real, but so is her fear. Rey has become powerful with the Force, yet she is still carrying doubt about her place in the story. She wants to be ready for the final fight, but she is afraid of what might already be inside her. That fear deepens when the Resistance receives intelligence that points toward Exegol and confirms that Palpatine's threat is real. The Resistance learns that finding Exegol is not simple. The planet is hidden behind dangerous space routes that can only be navigated with a Sith wayfinder. That sends Rey, Finn, Poe Dameron, Chewbacca, BB-8, and C-3PO on a fast-moving search across the galaxy. Their search first leads them to the desert festival world of Pasaana, where they hope to find a clue left behind by Luke Skywalker's old contacts. Rey is already struggling with the strange bond she still shares with Kylo. Their Force connection has not disappeared. In fact, it has become stronger and more intrusive, letting them see and even affect each other across great distance. On Pasaana, the group discovers the remains of an old assassin named Och, who once hunted for Palpatine. But before they can understand what he left behind, the First Order arrives. This triggers a major chase across the desert, and it is during this chaos that the film makes one of its sharpest emotional turns. Chewbacca is captured and taken aboard a transport. Rey tries to stop the ship from leaving with the Force. Kylo pushes back against her through their bond. Under panic and strain, Rey unleashes Force lightning and appears to destroy the transport with Chewbacca inside. Rey has always feared that great power could slide into something darker, and now she thinks she has just killed people she loves. Chewbacca was on a different ship and survived, but Rey does not know that yet. For her, this looks like proof that something dangerous is waking inside her. The next step in the search brings the heroes to Kijimi, where they seek a slicer who can unlock Sith text stored in C-3PO memory. The obstacle is that his programming forbids him from translating forbidden language directly. To get around that block, his memory has to be wiped. C-3PO understands exactly what is happening. He knows he may lose everyone and everything he remembers, and he chooses to do it anyway because the mission matters more. The translation reveals that the Wayfinder is located in the wreckage of the second Death Star on the ocean moon of Kef-Bir. It is another strong choice in the movie, because the path to the final battle literally runs through the ruins of past destruction. Before the heroes can move on, though, the First Order attacks Kijimi. The war keeps closing in on a place they touch. Rey travels to Kef-Bir while the emotional pressure keeps building. There she meets Janna, a former stormtrooper who, like Finn, once broke free from First Order control. That encounter adds an important layer to Finn's story. He is not a lone anomaly. Others also refuse to become tools. On Kef-Bir, Rey finds the wreckage of the Death Star and moves through it like someone walking into a grave built from old family history. Inside, she finally reaches the throne room remains and finds the Wayfinder. But before she can leave, Kylo arrives. Their confrontation becomes one of the film's core emotional collisions. Kylo is not trying to kill her immediately. He is still trying to pull her toward his side, convinced that together they can take the power Palpatine is offering and control the future themselves. Rey rejects that vision, and their duel begins among waves, steel, and shattered empire. The fight is fierce. Both of them are carrying family legacy, loneliness, and the sense that they are each the one person the other cannot ignore. Rey is stronger now, but also more emotionally unstable. Kylo is powerful, but increasingly split between the persona of Kylo Ren and the buried identity of Ben Solo. At the crucial moment, Leia reaches out through the Force to her son. It costs her everything. Kylo pauses, vulnerable for the first time in the fight, and Rey strikes him down. Then she feels what Leia has just done and what it means. Instead of killing him, she uses the Force to heal his wound. It is one of the most important choices in the film. Rey has every reason to hate him, fear him, and finish the fight. Instead, she shows mercy. Then she tells him that she did want to take his hand once, but not as Kylo Ren. She leaves him alive and broken on the ruins of the old war. Leia's death reaches everyone almost immediately. For the Resistance, it is another devastating loss. For Ben, it becomes the emotional crack that finally breaks the dark side hold over him. Alone on the wreckage, he is confronted by the memory of his father Han Solo. This is not a ghost in the usual sense. It feels more like memory, guilt, and love meeting in one moment. Ben does not get an easy absolution. What he gets is a chance to choose differently. He takes it. He throws away the red blade and lets Kylo Ren die. Rey, meanwhile, is overwhelmed by a different truth. Using clues left behind in the wreckage and what she has heard from others, she finally understands who she is. She is the granddaughter of Palpatine. She has been afraid of being no one, afraid of being abandoned, afraid of being dangerous. Now she believes she is tied by blood to the worst darkness the galaxy has ever known. In response, she does what people in Star Wars often do when they are terrified of themselves. She runs. She takes Kylo's ship to Ahch-To, intending to exile herself the way Luke once did. She believes that if she disappears, she can stop her own bloodline from shaping the future. But the movie wisely refuses to let that fear have the last word. Luke appears to her through the Force and finally offers the guidance she needed all along. He tells her that fear of lineage is not the same thing as destiny, and that the weapon of a Jedi deserves more respect than being thrown away. Most importantly, he admits that he was wrong to hide from the fight. That lesson matters because it frees Rey from repeating his mistake. Luke helps her understand that Leia knew the truth about her bloodline and still chose to train her. The people who loved her did not see Palpatine when they looked at her. They saw Rey. Armed with that clarity, she takes Leia's lightsaber, recovers Luke's old X-Wing, and heads for Exegol using the wayfinder. At the same time, the Resistance rallies for one final assault, even though the odds are almost hopeless. Lando Calrissian leaves to gather anyone in the galaxy still willing to answer the call. On Exegol, Palpatine reveals the full shape of his plan. He never wanted Kylo to replace him permanently. He wanted Rey. He wants her to kill him in anger so his spirit and the full weight of the Sith can pass into her. He tries to frame this as inheritance, destiny, and power. What he is really offering is possession. Rey refuses, but she is outmatched and isolated. Then Ben arrives. His path to Rey is one of the most satisfying parts of the ending because he comes with no army, no title, and no mask. He's just Ben Solo now, fighting to reach the person he once tried to drag into darkness. The Knights of Ren attack him first, and for a moment he is unarmed. Through the Force connection, Rey passes him the Skywalker lightsaber, and together they finally fight as allies instead of enemies. But Palpatine is not defeated by that reunion. Instead, he drains energy from them both, using the strange bond between them to restore his own body and power. Rejuvenated, he turns his attention outward and unleashes devastating Force energy into the sky, crippling the Resistance assault. Once again, the villain seems unbeatable because he is feeding off the very people who came to stop him. What follows is the final spiritual test of Rey's arc. She stands alone before the man whose blood runs through her veins while the fleet above is collapsing and the future seems already lost. She hears the voices of Jedi from the past reaching out through the Force, reminding her that she is not alone, not a vessel for Sith inheritance, and not defined by where she came from. She rises with both the Skywalker sabers in hand and faces Palpatine with the full weight of that legacy behind her. When he strikes her with all his power, she does not answer with rage. She answers with endurance and refusal. She turns his own attack back on him and destroys him completely. The victory is not just physical, it is moral. Palpatine wanted her to claim his throne through anger and bloodline. Instead, she defeats him by rejecting both. The civilian fleet Lando called for finally arrives in massive numbers, proving that the galaxy had not gone entirely silent after all. The doomed resistance assault becomes a wider uprising as ordinary people choose to join the fight. The Sith fleet is destroyed, the First Order begins to collapse, and across the galaxy the hold of fear finally starts breaking. But victory still demands a cost. Rey dies after defeating Palpatine. Ben reaches her, pulls her into his arms, and gives his own life energy to revive her. It is sacrifice. Ben saves her, shares one brief moment of peace with her, and then dies, finally redeemed not by words but by what he gives away. The Resistance celebrates, friends embrace, yet the ending belongs to Rey. She travels to Tatooine, to the Lars homestead where the story of Luke once began. There she buries the sabers of Luke and Leia and looks out over the twin suns. When asked who she is, she gives the answer the whole trilogy has been moving toward. She chooses the name Skywalker. The Rise of Skywalker treats identity as a choice rather than a sentence. Rey is not saved by learning she has noble blood. She is tested by learning she does not. Ben is not redeemed because someone says he is forgiven. He is redeemed because he turns back and gives everything. Poe becomes the leader. Finn moves beyond survival and into open commitment. And Leia continues guiding the future even after death through the love and faith she placed in both Rey and her son. By the end, Star Wars Episode IX: The Rise of Skywalker becomes more than a final battle against an old villain. It becomes a story about inheritance, about what we do with the names and pain we receive, and about the stubborn power of choosing your own place in the story. And when Rey stands beneath the light of two suns, the saga closes on its clearest truth. Blood can shape the past, but it does not own the future.